broadcasters. Welcome to episode 271 of the StreamYard Live Town Hall. My name's Geige, and I'm here with Dan, of course. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a good week. For anyone new here, Dan and I are the founders of StreamYard, and we do these town halls every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific. We do them for a few reasons. One is to stay in tune with you, go through the same flow that you all do with your own shows and productions. Two is to answer any of your questions. That's why we're calling it Ask StreamYard. So if there's anything you'd like us to touch on tonight, feel free to leave it in the chat. We'll do our best to get to as many as we possibly can. And three, I always mention the three pillars of StreamYard, which are ease of use, stability, and professional streams. So if you're about those three things, StreamYard is the tool for you. See folks tuning in from all over the world tonight. We got Learn Bikes from Ontario. Nice to have you here. I think I also saw Puerto Vallarta. Also, yeah, lots of happy St. Paddy's Day. Happy St. Paddy's Day to all of you.
Yeah, we're on brand with our green background, even though technically we always have this background, but count it.
Yeah, always. Before I forget, we have some awesome shows on StreamYard. We have YouTube channel reviews with Dee and Daniel the second Saturday of every month. Really great show if you're looking to grow on YouTube. They do deep dives on specific channels and help you think about things like your audience, your analytics. Definitely check that one out. And then we have Enhance Your Live Streams the last Tuesday of the month with Nick Nimmin, who again is a pro when it comes to all things video, but check that one out for your specific live streaming questions. Then we've also have lots of other awesome shows happening on the YouTube channel. So just stay tuned there. One thing we've been doing at the start of these so that we get to know a little bit more about you and you get to know a little bit more about us is a fun fact. And the fun fact we had for tonight was, do you prefer podcasts or audiobooks? Do you have a preference, Dan? I know you're a pretty big fan of both of them, I think.
I do have a preference. Yeah, I am a big fan of both. I listen to a ton of both, but I would say I really enjoy podcasts, but I love audiobooks. So audiobooks is definitely my number one. I'm pretty obsessed with audiobooks. How about you?
Yeah, for me, it's a tough call. I definitely like both of them a lot. If I'm on like a long plane ride or a drive or something, though, I think I usually would opt for an audiobook, but pretty close call for me.
Yeah, they're both great. I find they just serve pretty different use cases. Just the format of the content so different.
Oh, cool. We got Paranormal and Victoria, BC. Dan and I used to be up there for a while. Very cool. Awesome. There was one recent feature we wanted to quickly touch on in case you missed it, which was on-air calendar duration. So when you're scheduling an on-air, it used to be where there was sort of a default length of time set, and now you have the option to choose how long you want that to show up on the calendar. So if you want to schedule it to be like a 2-hour or a 1-hour event, you can do that. And one thing that came up last time we mentioned it was like if the stream would cut off or something after that time. No, it's simply the calendar invite that goes out to inform people how long it's going to be. You can, if you want it to go longer or shorter, you can absolutely do that.
Yep.
Let's do a couple questions here before we get into some of the other topics for tonight. Your owner says, any chance on increasing the size of the slideshow for upload? Do you want to take that one, Dan?
Yeah, I'll look into that. And just to confirm, by size, I assume you mean file size? Like you're running to the file size limit? I can't actually remember what the file size is. But yeah, something we can look at. It does take a while. If the file size is crazy large because there's a ton of images or videos or something in there, it can make it take quite a while for us to kind of process it. So I don't know how large we would increase it to. And if you do have like this massive slide deck with a whole bunch of huge images in there or something, I would probably just stick with screen sharing. Yeah, maybe if you can just confirm if you mean the file size or something else, that'd be great.
Cool. We'll get to some of the other questions here, but I want to make sure we show that one of the topics we wanted to touch on for tonight to make sure that there's plenty of time. We did ask about it briefly, but we also had a guest on, so there wasn't too much time to get your guys' feedback, and it had been a while since we've asked the question. And that is, like we've added so much when it comes to like on air and the studio and local recording. We're curious with everything that's come so far. We presume since the last time we've asked this question, your list has probably adjusted given that a lot of the things have been added. But as of today, what's the number one thing that you guys in particular would like to see added to StreamYard? We're curious to know. Question from Gyrus says on X says, what's the best way to take multiple angles on the same stream at the same time? So there's a few options there, Gyrus. So one thing I've definitely seen people do is on the Pro plan, you can have multiple USB cameras connected to your computer and show multiple cameras that way. Like I see it, it's very common in like art streams where I'll see someone with a maybe a camera pointing down to the work that they're doing, and then another one maybe on their face. The other option, that I've seen that works on any plan that you're using, is to use some sort of video mixer, and that will allow you to plug in as many cameras as that mixer supports, and then that mixer connects to StreamYard, and then you can use just sort of like the hardware switchers or the hardware buttons on that switcher to control sort of which camera is showing. And I've definitely seen people have a lot of success using that.
Cool.
Let's see here. Let's go. So with Joanne says, does computer power matter for streaming with StreamYard, or is an older solid laptop okay if using an Ethernet connection and minimum required speed from speed test? So an older solid laptop should absolutely be fine, Joanne, especially if it has a good internet connection. It's one of the nice things about StreamYard is because it is cloud-based, and StreamYard has its own infrastructure that's handling a lot of the processing to make it easier on your computer. You can stream from low power devices like even a Chromebook or something like that. It certainly helps to have a good computer, especially if you're doing something like screen sharing, which is a bit more dependent on maybe your graphics card on the computer. But you absolutely can stream from a low power device.
Yeah, I would say the features, if it's useful to know, the ones that are a little heavier, if you're trying to make sure that you don't need a super powerful device, it's really screen sharing, like Geige mentioned. Green screen and touch up both just use a little bit more processing power than some of the other features. And then local recording would be the other one. None of them are too intense, but especially if you're doing all of those. So maybe if you have local recording on and green screen and touch up and you're, screen sharing or sharing a bunch of video files and stuff, if you're doing all of that stuff, that can definitely add up. And at that point, it helps to have a stronger computer. Like a Chromebook would start to struggle at that point. But if you're just in the studio, just you on screen or with a guest or something, you're not really doing too much else, you're totally fine with a Chromebook or a mobile phone. Stuff like that should be completely fine. And it's fine even with those other features. Just you will start to notice it a little bit if you're using all of those things.
Well, seeing some awesome suggestions here in the chat for the #1 feature request. Excited to jump into some of these. Hey, Andrew, nice to see you here. Andrew says, I'd like to see timestamp/chapter support, especially if we want to make YouTube shorts after we live stream/record. I feel that would be amazing. Yeah, that's a really cool idea and something that we're interested in exploring in the StreamYard editor. It's a great idea.
Cool.
The Junk Drawer says, is it possible to overlay transparent video files to act as segment transitions? So right now, the closest thing you could do is use the GIF format and use that to sort of like play and transition it into something. But we do want to add support for things like MOV files and other formats that support the alpha channel in the future. So stay tuned on that one. Junk Drawer. It is something we'd like to support. Let's see here. Luke says, #1 would be shortcuts for overlays and other assets so I can create multi-action macros. Yeah, that's a good one, Luke. Appreciate the thought there.
Yep. Yeah, that one definitely makes sense.
Hey, Barb, nice to see you here. Marianne says, would still love to have a circle frame more aesthetically pleasing, or even rounded corners for the frame. Yeah, that's a good one, Marianne. We were actually chatting about that recently. Team Paranormal says, do the guests you invite to join your podcast have to download the guest app? I sent an invite to someone through an email and she couldn't join without using the app. So when it comes to a StreamYard show in general that you're live streaming out to social, absolutely not. If someone doesn't want to join from using the native app, they can just join directly from their browser. If you want to have access to every feature that we offer when it comes to local recording, there are some features there that are exclusive to the app, right, Dan?
Yeah, with local recording, you do actually have to use the app on iOS. So that's the only time. So if you have local recording on, like if you really care about your recording quality on StreamYard, then your guests will have to use the app. And it's simply because Safari is just not very stable when it comes to local recording. They just don't support a lot of the things that are essential, which is part of the reason we built an app in the first place. So if you do have local recording on and your guest is on an iPhone or iPad, then yes, they will. In any other case, they're fine to use the browser.
Yeah. And like Dan said, and just in case if you're not familiar with local recording, this doesn't apply to like just a standard recording. So if you don't have local recording on and you're just using the regular recording features of StreamYard, you don't have to use the native application. This is specifically when you want to use the feature where the content is being recorded on each person's individual device to give you sort of like the best possible quality for repurposing and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is most common if you're doing just a record only. Not a lot of people that are streaming will also use local recording. Most people streaming just let it kind of record in the cloud and on YouTube itself or wherever you're streaming to.
Hey, Miss, I think we missed part of the question. My computer went down. Can I initiate and go live from? I'm gonna guess you mean from a different device, but if not, correct me if I'm wrong. But absolutely, that's another cool thing about StreamYard is because a lot of that information is stored on StreamYard's systems. You can go live from any device. So if you're traveling and you're using a different computer, as long as you log into StreamYard, you can absolutely use another device.
Yeah, just to follow up, there was the full message.
Yes, you can absolutely initiate it live from your phone or another computer.
Yep.
Let's see here. One from, I'm going to say the name wrong. Oh, hey, maybe. Question. I have started a weekly on-air event in which I require my on-air guests to pre-register. It'd be nice if the link for them to pre-register was always the same. Is this even possible? Do you want to take that one, Dan?
Yeah. So it's not possible yet unless you do the registration on your own website somewhere. So there are technically ways to do it, but it's a lot more work. So we are looking into some way to basically handle that for you eventually. But at the moment, that's not possible. So they would have to register for each one separately right now.
All right. Let's see. There's so many awesome suggestions here. Mark says, any chance to get new themes or additions to add our own lower thirds? Yeah, themes is definitely something on our minds. Mark, like right now, there's just we've had the same set for a while, but yeah, I think we do want to add more themes in the future. And then when it comes to more customization in general, it still hasn't launched yet, but I've mentioned it a few times in the past that we are working on something pretty special that's going to feel similar in spirit to what we did with custom layouts, where we want to keep things really, really easy to use. But for folks that do want to dig in and sort of have more control over their run of show and some of those different aspects, we're going to have some cool stuff coming there that we're excited for you all to see. Let's see here. Always Elvis says, would like to see the chat window available in a separate window or a way to view comments while in the brand tab. Yeah, that's a good one, Elvis. We've definitely gotten that one a lot, but good to see it again.
Yep. Yeah, we're still thinking about the best way to do that, whether it's to like pop up the chat somewhere else or maybe be able to actually customize where things are in the studio itself, all within one tab. We're not sure yet, but it is something on our mind.
Got one here from True Crime Sushi. I like the name. I'd like to see the team be able to comment and chat via StreamYard under their own name, as opposed to needing to comment on a separate tab. So I don't know if I fully understand this one. So go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so I'm guessing you have like other admins or maybe co-hosts on your team, and you basically mean like you're streaming, let's say, to YouTube, and you want them to be able to comment instead of ask whoever it is. I assume True Crime Sushi. Like you don't want them all commenting under that name. You want someone to comment on their own personal thing. We sort of have that, but not if they're part of your team. So I don't know if you've seen that feature before, but if you have a guest that say is not part of your StreamYard team, we do have a feature called guest commenting where they can basically join in the YouTube chat, and it is just for YouTube. So if you're streaming to Facebook or something, we don't have that. But if you have a guest in the studio, like if I was a guest and not part of Geige's team right now, I could actually go into the chat and log in with my own YouTube channel and comment. But as soon as I'm on Geige's team, then I can also basically post Ask Geige. So we don't have the ability to kind of switch who you post at if you're part of the team. So let me know if I'm understanding that correctly. And if so, that is something we'd be open to adding, I would say.
Got one here from Beauty Bubble. Number one for me currently has to be auto fade for the music tracks. As I move from one track to another, a soft lowering of volume would be ideal. Good to know. Thanks, Beauty. All right, let's see what else we had. One from the Quest of Oak Island says, when can we bulk download Google Slides to StreamYard instead of one at a time? So yeah, I don't have a specific date for you, but anything that's quality of life improvements like that, Quest of Oak Island, we definitely want to support. Let's see here. One from John Boyce says, just dropped in. Well, welcome, John. Very new to podcasting. Are PowerPoint presentations available on StreamYard? So we do have various ways to share slides, John. So one way that you could, we don't have a direct integration with PowerPoint, but one thing that folks will do is convert it to a PDF and then upload it that way. If you mean like, is there a PowerPoint presentation available that's just like explaining how StreamYard works? I don't know that we specifically have a PowerPoint presentation, but there's a ton of content on YouTube if you prefer video, or if you prefer documentation, if you just go to support.streamyard.com, there's lots of great docs there walking through everything you might need to know. Got one here from Alex regarding on-air. Says, am I missing something? When we bring someone from viewer into the green room during on-air, how can I send them back to be a viewer after their portion is done? So one new feature we recently announced was the ability to invite viewers into the on-air webinar or the on-air live stream that you're doing, but that's a separate functionality from the green room feature.
That's what he's referring to. I think he's doing both by the sound of it.
Okay, you want to take it, Dan?
Yeah, I can take that. So unfortunately, right now, they basically have to go back themselves. We haven't like wired up the green room to the on-air invite thing yet. Like if they click back, they'll go there. So you can basically ask them like, hey, go back to the viewer link, and they'll have the link so they can get back there. But there's not a button that you can just click of like send back to the viewer experience or something right now. That's something I'm interested in adding, though. I think that'd be kind of cool. It's just tricky for us. We don't necessarily know who was a viewer or who we should show that message to. So hopefully it'll be possible for us to do that.
Cool. Keeping It Real says, is there anything you guys can do to help those of us who do sports podcasts to have the option of a live scoreboard? Yeah, there's tons of awesome sports podcasts on StreamYard, and we absolutely want to continue to support them. And we've definitely heard this one a lot, like when it comes to the ability to bring in live information around like the score or things happening in the game. I don't have any dates or specifics other than it's a use case that we're really excited about, and we want to continue to support it. And we would like to figure out a way. I don't know if it'd be a feature directly in StreamYard, or we'd give you tools to make it easier for you to do it yourself. But we absolutely want to support that use case.
Yep, and I would add, I mean, you might already know this, and this might be why you're asking, but there are technically, there's a bunch of ways to do it now. I would say the three most obvious ones. It's not going to look amazing, and that's why I imagine maybe you want something a little more customizable. But you could just show the score as a banner. I've seen some sports shows do that where they just type out what the score is. Tickers can look pretty good for that, actually, where you show the score as a ticker, kind of similar to what you would see on like a sports TV show where the scores are always going across the bottom. And then you can actually have a custom overlay that's like very, uniquely designed to however you want, with a bunch of transparency. So like it's a transparent PNG, and somewhere in there it shows the score, but then it doesn't auto update, and you have to basically, anytime there's a goal, let's say, depending on your sport, you would just like quickly update the drawing, save it, and upload it as a new overlay and just show that one on screen. Ideally, you'd have someone who's just doing that in the background if you have a bunch of people on your show. But yeah, I know none of those are ideal, but that is three ways you could technically do that will work.
We have Community says, new to content, just want to say thanks. I really appreciate these opportunities to interact with the team, invaluable to newbies. Of course, Community, that's so kind of you to say. It's invaluable to us to get the chance to interact with you guys and get your feedback. So thanks so much for spending the time here with us. All right, there's so many awesome ones to cover here. Let's see. Laurent says, there's no way to access the banner in the free mode. Is that right? No, Laurent, you absolutely can use banners on the free version of StreamYard. There's tons of functionality on the free version of StreamYard. One of the main things you miss out on is just the ability to upload your own, like you have the StreamYard watermark there, but when it comes to showing the comments on screen and banners and themes, you have access to all of those things.
Yep.
Always Elvis says, will there be a future option to have the emails for on air be more selectable? Now it's all emails go out 1 day, 1 hour, etc. You want to take that one, Dan?
Yes, it will be. There will be quite a lot of email options, probably coming in multiple batches of features where we kind of ship some basic customization and then more over time. But yeah, that's something that's in the works right now that should be coming out relatively soon.
All right. Let's see here. Chicken Fried Barbecue says, how can I play cool sounds in my live stream? Yeah, you have a few different options there, Chicken Fried. If you want to do it directly in StreamYard, we do have the option to upload your own tracks. They're more commonly used for playing like background music or longer form audio compared to just like a sound effect, but you can use it that way. Another option that I'll see folks doing is using something like an audio interface, like the Rodecaster is pretty popular, and you can upload, or it might even come built in with various sound effects. And if you're using an audio interface, basically your mic goes into the audio interface, the interface goes into StreamYard, and then anything you do on that interface will come through on the audio in StreamYard.
Yep.
Creative Lady, I see your question about guest destinations, and that there's a copyright notice on the guest channel. Is it a YouTube thing? That would be related to YouTube and the settings you have in terms of like how folks are allowed to use your content. So I would look into if you want to like have destinations and have other folks have the ability to share that to their own channels, you'll want to look into that setting on YouTube.
Yeah, if it's useful to know, for most people, it's not a problem. So it's not like a global problem that everyone who uses guest destinations have. We usually don't hear much about it. So yeah, probably some kind of setting.
Yes. All right. Raki says, please can we come up with a way to do phone virtual backgrounds? I think I saw a couple other ones there for the number one feature request being virtual backgrounds on mobile devices. Yes, Raki, that's something that we're actively exploring and something that should be easier now that we have the mobile app for StreamYard.
Yeah, mostly like for iOS, that should hopefully come relatively soon. And then Android, we still need to build an actual app. And that would be for guests first because our app is only for guests. But once we eventually have it for hosts, then we'd also have it for hosts. So yeah, it's coming.
Cool. We have one from Chantel says, I'd love to see a moderator seat in the team area for on-air webinars so mods don't accidentally add a comment to the screen that they're trying to dump. Yeah, that's a good one, Chantel. More moderation options specifically for on-air. Noted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Feature request from Marianne says, any way that comments we already feature on screen can get grayed out so it's easier to see which ones are yet to be read or new? Yeah, I think it's a really cool suggestion, Marianne, to be able to track that more easily, almost like read receipts.
Cool. Yeah. I know we've chatted about maybe sometimes we'll actually build features just for Geige and I to test out in this town hall, and that was one of the ones we considered trying out to see if we liked it or not. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that could be cool.
Another one from Gyrus says, how could I do multiple angle streaming with iPhones? I don't have any cameras, but I have iPhones and iPads. So yeah, one way you could do this, Gyrus, that I've seen folks do is to simply join on those devices as a guest in StreamYard. You'll want to make sure it's muted so you're not getting any like audio feedback from the various devices. But yeah, you can just have those devices join as a guest and then add it into the stream the same way that Dan and I are, technically individual camera feeds. You could do it that way.
Yep. And on some devices, you can't fully mute them or you can't fully turn down the volume, in which case you might want to just put headphones in so the volume doesn't come out. But I know on the native app, we're working on something to handle that. But yeah, there's some weirdness with devices where sometimes it just doesn't let you put the volume all the way down to 0. So if you're going to do that, you basically want to mute the mic and potentially plug in headphones if you can't get the volume down all the way to 0.
Absolutely. Jimmy says, how do I use StreamYard when invited on a podcast that also uses StreamYard so I can stream the podcast to my channel as well? Yeah, that's similar to what we were referring to with guest destinations, Jimmy. So who's ever the host of the podcast has to choose to have that setting on. But if they do have guest destinations enabled, basically you'll have the option to, in addition to whatever platforms they're going live to also go live on your own, YouTube channel, Facebook page, LinkedIn, whatever it is.
Yep. Two important qualifications for that. So number one, they have to turn the setting on. So there's a guest destination setting that they have to actually turn on. So when you enter the studio in the top right, you should see the option to add your destination. If they have it on, if they don't, you can basically ask them, hey, can you turn on the guest destinations feature, which is just inside the settings in the guest destinations tab. or in the modal that pops up when you invite people to the studio. It's in a few places. And then they also need to be on a paid plan. So you ask the host, they can only turn it on one of the StreamYard paid plans. So just in case you don't see it, that would be why, one of those reasons.
One request from Rob Greenlee. Hey, Rob, hope you're doing well. Persistent join links for co-hosts or guests would be great. Yep, noted. Let's see here. One from, hey, Michael Daniels, hope you're doing well. For a new feature request, having whoever is talking shown in the main window or large window looks unprofessional, having to do it manually. Yeah, is that, I'm curious, Michael, is that similar to sort of like the old Hangouts on Air thing where just whoever's sort of actively talking, you want to automatically pop up? I assume that's what you mean.
Yeah, Michael, I'm curious too if you wanted in the solo layout like this, where it automatically would highlight Geige if he was talking, or more like this layout, or I guess potentially both.
Absolutely. The time went by quick. Should we go ahead and start queuing up the giveaway for tonight, Dan?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I see other folks are a fan of the red receipt feature on comments. Yeah, it's a cool idea. All right, I think many of you are already familiar, but we always do a giveaway towards the end of these shows. And to be eligible, all you have to do is type in hashtag the yard. And tonight we'll give away a StreamYard sweater and a StreamYard pillow. And if you're ever keen on running a giveaway like this yourself, we actually made this tool available at StreamYard.com/giveaway. And there's a video walking you through how to use it. But you can do exactly what Dan and I are doing here. Just screen share it, and you can even choose your own entry keyword instead of hashtag the yard. You could choose, hashtag whatever your show name is or whatever.
Or no keyword.
Yeah, or anyone who comments is just eligible. Yep. So we'll give you maybe 5 or 10 seconds or so to get in your hashtag the yards.
Cool.
Let's see here. Andrew says, in terms of feature requests, graphic overlay timers example, I want a banner to show up every 5 minutes that's saying the stream is brought to you by StreamYard. Awesome, Andrew. Yeah, that's a cool suggestion.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, it's a lot going on in there. All right, it's still going up slightly. Maybe we'll give it another couple seconds. All right, I think it's probably good now.
And sorry, what are we giving away?
We're giving away a StreamYard sweater and a StreamYard pillow.
And just to show them off, here's the sweater. Here's the pillow. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck. Community.
All right.
Yeah, you're one of the commenters tonight. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you could shoot an email to contact@StreamYard.com, the team can get you your brand new StreamYard hoodie and your StreamYard pillow shipped on over. Congrats, and yeah, thanks again for hanging out.
Cool. Congrats.
All right. And with that, this was episode 271 of the StreamYard Live Town Hall. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. It's always a pleasure getting the chance to be here with you and get your feedback. There were so many great suggestions tonight. I'm excited to go through it with Dan afterwards and note down all of your suggestions. We'll see you next week at the same time, Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.